The world anticipated that Russia's economy would implode. Sanctions were meant to halt the war, stifle its economy, and freeze its industry. Banks were shut down. The assets were frozen. Technology was outlawed. And yet, Russia is still engaged in combat. All day and all night, factories are in operation. Missiles are still being manufactured. Soldiers continue to receive compensation. Therefore, did sanctions fail? Is not the true question. The true question is how Russia managed to create a war economy that can withstand isolation. This is the tale of the new military economy in Russia. Number 9. The harm was evident and clear when punishments first took effect. The value of the ruble fell. Almost quickly, inflation skyrocketed. Stores stopped carrying imported items. Large numbers of foreign businesses left, leaving behind shuttered factories and vacant offices. The shock was abrupt and terrifying for average Russians. Savings seemed risky. Prices surged. Uncertainty quickly spread. Economic collapse seemed plausible for a split second. However, the Russian government responded swiftly and violently. To prevent money from leaving the nation, capital controls were put in place. Exporters were directed to exchange their foreign exchange profits for rubles. Banks were given immediate assistance. Financial markets were strictly regulated and were not permitted to respond freely. Order persisted despite a decline in living standards. Although sanctions caused suffering, they also demonstrated Russia's ability to endure adversity when it comes to its existence. Number 8. Control. A more profound change ensued as the government increased its control over the economy. National goals took precedence over private enterprise. Political need took the role of market rationality. Businesses were instructed on what to make, where to put their money, and how to run their businesses. Production took precedence over profit. Although this strategy is expensive and ineffective, it provides predictability, which is essential during a battle. Market incentives are no longer the only source of support for the Kremlin. It employs pressure, subsidies, and directives to guarantee that vital industries keep running. The state absorbs losses. Failures are discreetly concealed. Supply chains and production figures, not balance sheets, are used to gauge success. As long as military might is maintained, economic weakness is accepted in this society. Russia is not attempting to surpass the economy of the West. It's attempting to outlast them. Number 7. Energy. Russia's war economy still relies heavily on oil and gas. The goal of Western sanctions was to reduce energy revenue, but since energy markets are worldwide, demand did not go away. Russian oil started moving eastward instead of westward. China and India significantly expanded their purchases, frequently at a discount, but they still sent Moscow enormous amounts of money. Indeed, Russia's earnings per barrel have decreased. However, it sells enough to sustain the system. The state budget, which now prioritizes military spending, receives these payments immediately. The production of weaponry, logistics, troop salaries, and recompense for surviving family members are all funded by energy money. Additionally, it provides funding for social payments that keep citizens who are struggling with growing costs from becoming unruly. Energy exports have become more than trade, they are strategic lifelines. As long as oil tankers leave Russian ports, the war economy keeps breathing. Number 6. Budget. Russia's national budget has been redesigned with conflict in mind. Spending on security and defense now accounts for a disproportionate amount of public funds. Projects for civil infrastructure often postponed or abandoned. Less focus is placed on regional development, healthcare, and education. Anything that doesn't immediately promote stability or war is viewed as optional. This is intentional prioritizing, not an accident. In return for instant military capability, the state is willing to endure long-term stagnation, inflation pressure, and deficits. The amount borrowed rises. Reserve money is used. When conflict calls for it, fiscal restraint relents. This strategy maintains supplies for the war effort, but it also fosters reliance. Employment in entire regions is now dependent on defense contracts and military factories. Reducing war expenditures would increase political risk, unemployment, and instability. Society no longer comes first in the budget. The budget of war is served by society. Number 5. Industry. All around Russia, factories have changed. Armored vehicles, ammunition, drones, and spare parts are being produced in plants that formerly made civilian gear. Production lines have undergone rapid and frequently rudimentary retooling. Quality is less important than speed. Innovation is less important than quantity. Higher pay, bonuses, and protection from military conscription serve as incentives for employees. Many manufacturers run 3 shifts a day and are always in operation. Upkeep is hurried. Equipment deteriorates more quickly. Errors are accepted as long as productivity is maintained. Although it conceals inefficiencies, this industrial boom gives the impression of strength. The price is exorbitant. Waste is prevalent. A lot of the time, capacity is exceeded. Nevertheless, this is suitable for a war economy. Russia is meeting an immediate military need rather than creating a sophisticated industrial future. Number 4. Evasion. The purpose of sanctions was to prevent access to cutting-edge technologies. They were successful on paper. A parallel system actually developed. Russia obtains banned components through middlemen in other nations. Electronics are lawfully bought from another location, rebranded, and then sent on. Military technology is adapted from civilian use. Drones used by consumers are turned into military weaponry. Missiles contain chips meant for home appliances. These supply chains are more costly and take longer. They diminish scale and dependability. However, they function well enough to maintain output. Perfection is not necessary for the military economy. Continuation is. Russia can continue to fight as long as it can obtain some components. Sanctions create more friction, but a determined system cannot be stopped by friction alone. Number 3. Labor. People are just as consumed in a war economy as money. There is a significant labor shortage in Russia. The military and defense sectors have drawn millions of males of working age. There is a shortage of skilled labor. The issue is exacerbated by demographic decline, which reduces the labor pool annually. Instead of using force, the Kremlin employs financial incentives to prevent a backlash from public mobilization. Salaries for contract soldiers are significantly higher than the national average. Freedom is offered to prisoners. Bonuses and exemptions from conscription are given to workers at defense factories. The war has emerged as the most dependable source of income in many impoverished areas. However, there is a hidden cost associated with this tactic. Every worker engaged in the manufacturing of war is cut off from the advancement of civilian society. Every soldier slain signifies decades of lost output in the future in addition to a cost today. Russia burns its future workforce in order to maintain the present. Number 2. Society. Everyday existence is altered by the war economy. There is less choice for consumers. Costs increase. Imports start to become limited. However, governmental messaging places a strong emphasis on perseverance, patriotism, and inevitable outcomes. Sacrifice has become commonplace. Complaints are shown as being weak or unfaithful. Adaptation takes the place of opposition for many Russians. People lower their expectations. They prioritize stability over advancement. The promise is survival, not prosperity. Although brittle, this social compact works. Mass upheaval is unlikely as long as wages are paid, pensions are received, and pandemonium is prevented. The military economy depends on controlled expectations as well as money. Number 1. The system has limitations despite looks. Lack of technology prevents modernization. In the absence of original producers, equipment maintenance becomes more challenging. Savings are subtly eroded by inflation. Private investment is suppressed by high interest rates. When infrastructure is not properly renewed, it ages. Above all, there is no easy way out of this economic model. A war-based economy is difficult to demobilize. Reducing military budget would lead to political unrest, factory closures, and unemployment. The system's reliance on conflict increases with its duration. Entrapment results from endurance. Russia's economy can last longer than many anticipated, But strength and sustainability are not the same thing. Sanctions were not defeated by Russia. It became adept at living inside them. Moscow created an economy that was constructed to continue fighting, even in isolation, by forsaking development, comfort, and long-term stability. It is not impossible to stop this war economy. However, it is sturdy, and as long as it endures, the conflict is still conceivable long, grueling, and hazardous. Because peace becomes the most difficult adjustment of all when an economy is designed for conflict. Like, subscribe, and stay intrigued if you want more in-depth, serious geopolitical discussions like this one.